And then, yeah, I'll probably make this recording available. I'll probably do like an unlisted YouTube video, and we'll go from there. But yeah, we'll start in a couple of minutes. Fuck. Check my DMs one last time, see if anyone's gonna come in real quick. All right, let's go for it. Let's get into this. So just a quick presentation, gonna go over some things that I do on a daily basis, things that I think will be valuable to you guys. I'm not gonna just sit here and tell you a bunch of stuff that sounds nice in theory. I'm gonna give you a bunch of practical advice that I apply on a daily basis that I find value in. So without further ado, why why do this? Why journal? Why would it be worth your time? Simply put, it's the most effective way to figure out what you're doing wrong. You cannot manage what you're not measuring. If you don't know where you're executing, you don't know where you're entering trades, exiting trades, how are you going to know what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong? Like from my perspective, when I talk to newer traders, and they'll talk about whether it's, oh, I overtrade a bunch. I'm not sure on what my best setups are, or they don't have confidence in their edge. I ask them about their trades. So like, what did you trade today, for instance? And they can't clearly articulate it. And the reason is because they're not looking at it. They're throwing some sort of temper tantrum on the charts, and then they just walk away from it, pretending there's no responsibility to actually look at what they did. Why this matters is because you're going to just dramatically slow down your learning curve by not reviewing the trades you're taking. Because here's the thing, you're taking the losses, you might as well learn from them. There's no benefit in ignoring losses. You can ignore wins more or less. Obviously, you want to learn from every trade you take, but losses you definitely need to be looking at. So just make it a habit. I'd say there's two forms of journaling. You have the documenting of trades, like some sort of statistics that's automatically calculating what your performance looks like. And then also, yeah, the other side would be like getting screenshots of the setups you're taking, putting those in some sort of notebook. Paper, it's not really going to be best for you. You want to do something digital, something that's easy to use. I'll show you a couple resources that I use personally. But yeah, I put it this way. The best way to solve a problem is obviously directly on, like head on. You don't want to zig and zag. If you're trying to get somewhere fast, move in a straight line. So when it comes to uncovering the issues you have in trading, have a software that very unemotionally show you what your trade was. Don't try to like make a trade look better than it is. If you enter it on a 1 minute chart, you don't need to show the execution on like a 4 hour chart so it looks like you caught a big range. Just show the 1 minute chart. Show it exactly as you traded it because it will show you exactly what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. You never want to make something seem different than it is. You want things to seem exactly as they are because then you can make meaningful improvement. And the whole point of this is for it to be objective. So by looking at raw truth, we could come to unemotional conclusions. We don't get too high on the wins or too low on the losses. So when it comes to tracking stats, I was at brunch today with a few of the guys. We're just talking about this. The reason I say you want to use something like TradeZella, because I have a discount code. If you use it, I make like $4 a year or something. So get a cup of coffee with that. But more realistically, you can use something like Notion as well. Notion's free. I have a free template in the Discord. Anybody can use that. But with TradeZella, it will automatically kind of give you something like this down here. I just have an example from this week. It'll show, I marked out a few things. So I'm putting down what is my rating of this trade based on um, my opinion on it. What do I think about the trade? And I rate it. And then from there, I can use other things like, what's my R multiple? I always know what I'm risking initially and what I'm targeting initially. So I want to put that in there. Those like the R multiple, the amount of mistakes that I make, as well as the type of setup that I take, whether it's like a good entry or not, those influence my rating of the trade. So in this scenario, it's like a 4 or 5. The trade, it's not arguably like a flawless trade. I think, yeah, that's 4 stars. So, you might see, oh, that's 1,500, this or that. That it doesn't really matter too much. The number doesn't matter. It's about how I execute it. Because I have trades where I make like 100 or $200 and they're 5 out of 5. So they're flawless. This trade I could have done better. I initially planned to make $3,000, targeting 100 points with 15 contracts across accounts. And I deviated from that plan because I let my personal opinion about price like steer me off track. I felt that I needed to protect profit, and in some scenarios, maybe that's right, but that wasn't my plan. So that's kind of it. And you see, for mistakes down there, I have 3 little categories on TradeZilla. I have my session, my entry, and my mistakes. That's what I want to track for every trade. I'm just labeling the type of mistake that it is. In this scenario, it's trade management. I don't say I sold this or that. It's just trade management. If I was wrong on direction, I would just say bias. I keep it very simple because the less tags you have, the more powerful your data will be because you can then filter it and see how much money do I lose based on trade management. And you can start to calculate maybe opportunity costs, right, of making that same mistake over and over. The whole point is you want very clear data because it gives you very powerful indications on what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So when it comes to this, you want to track stats because from there you can observe the mistakes. Once you have some sort of track record of mistakes, you can develop a plan to move forward. And when I say observe mistakes, I don't mean write down, dear diary, I was such a yada, yada, yada today. I can't believe this. I'm a failure. Nobody cares, I promise you, and you're never going to want to read that. What you should be doing is say, damn, I actually did something maybe a little dumb, acknowledge it, and you say, okay, cool. Like, I think I had a trade this week where it was like, I kind of just bought the top twice. Why did I do that? That was not great. Anyways, you see, it's not emotional. It's just saying, I did this wrong. If it was like, let's just say I held onto a trade too long and it goes back to break even, I would say trade management. And in my Notion journal, I would write down, for whatever reason, I keep round tripping these trades. I need to figure out something that I'm maybe missing. But I'm not gonna write out all these emotional things because you're gonna train yourself to think that way. Instead, I want to see, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? How can I improve? That's it. Because when you work from that kind of framework, it's easy to develop like a plan where you say, what is one thing I could do to improve this metric? Because all you're doing is looking at metrics. We were talking at brunch, and Mikey was saying KPIs. For any business, you're going to have key performance indicators. For trading, there's different metrics, right? So we'll get into some of that, but you do all of this, you develop a plan, and then on a weekly basis, you're going to measure your progress or your improvement. Because again, like we said in the beginning, you're not going to manage to improve something if you're not measuring what you're doing with it. So moving forward, some just quick examples. I just grabbed some stuff out of TradeZilla because this doesn't really matter too much. I'm just trying to point out the things that I'm doing. It's not about what's a good or bad trade, but with this, I just look at the details of it. So with this trade, I entered here and I kind of messed up on the order execution. I didn't really mean to like sell 2 contracts here, so I added back one on the fair value gap, and then I sold one at the target I had, and then it trailed or something like that. I ended up selling 2 contracts. I meant to sell one. So it was just weird. So for me, it's just trade management. Not what I meant to do. I meant to sell both around like one partial and then one at like 22,000. But I made an error. So that's like a 3.5, right? It's not perfect. For me, I like seeing, did I enter at a good spot? Did I target a good spot? Did the model make sense? And all this stuff, it made sense to me. I just made some errors. So it wasn't, for me, it's not that clean. I don't really like how this looks. But you see, I entered on an imbalance. That's a fair value gap. I don't put 5 minute, 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute. The software already tracks the time frame your like executions are on. So I'm not going to write redundant things because I want one entry model for all fair value gaps. I don't want like 5 different ones because when I track it, it's going to be a pain in the ass when I'm like, wait, how much money do I make from a 5 minute gap versus a 1 minute? To me, that's not the data I want. I want to see, am I making money on fair value gaps or am I losing money on maybe inversions or breakers? Because if I keep losing money on, let's just say breakers, maybe I don't know what that is. So that's kind of the framework you want. See where you're making money, where you're losing money, because it could also be based on the time of day. Maybe every day, New York PM session, I lose money. If I have enough data on it, why would I keep doing it? So it makes it really easy to just cut that nonsense out when you have evidence. So the good and the bad, be precise with this stuff. I like taking screenshots of TradeZella and I put it in Notion. I make my charts look the way I want. I make this identical on every single trade. I'm very, very, very meticulous about this. This stuff matters a lot. And the more that you believe that it matters, the better you're going to do it. So some more examples. This is a little bit from my Notion. I'll kind of just label the day. What did I do? Was there 2 wins, 2 losses, tilt, whatever. I write what was like the trade, what was like a main topic or something, like a hashtag or whatever. Maybe it's CPI, maybe it's a type of setup I take. Just whatever's on my mind about that. What was my main mistake? Maybe I sold this one early because there was jolts right here. Maybe that was a mistake, maybe it wasn't. And I'll explain my process. So I'll write, what did I see? I saw a potential entry here, yada, yada, yada. I didn't get involved, but I found a trade where I was able to get involved with the continuation. So I do this in Notion. You can do all of this 100% in TradeZella. I just personally like Notion. I think it's easier to use for text stuff, but obviously for data, TradeZella is going to take the cake. So there's no competition there. Or, you could use like Trader View, I believe is another one I used for a couple years. There's other ones. It doesn't matter. But in my opinion, I think TradeZella works the best. It's the easiest. You could use it on your phone, super easy. But when it comes to, again, like I was saying, clarity of data, these are some of the mistakes and some of the entries that I will label every trade with. So you see, maybe I entered at a bad location. Maybe something with my daily loss limit was an issue. Maybe I overtraded. Maybe the way that I structured my entry was wrong. Maybe my size. You get it. But I'm not saying too big, too small. Yeah, because you're going to end up with so much confusing data when you could just say the same thing over and over. What was my entry model? Like change in state, continuation, inversion, yada, yada, yada. Whatever they are for you. This could say VWAP, this could say pullback. It's your system. No one else is going to do it for you. Whatever makes sense to you. But the one thing you do want to do is just make it extremely simple and precise. Like you want concise labels. You don't want paragraphs or the stuff. When it comes to trade stats, these are the few things that I'm going to look at. I think anybody can improve just by looking at these metrics. Whether you trade on a funded account or a personal account, your profit factor and your win rate are going to directly influence the amount of drawdown that you can incur. Because if you have a low profit factor, let's just say your profit factor is 1, that's relatively break even. 1.5, you can start to make a little bit of profit, but anything over 1 is pretty much your margin. That's what you're going to live on. When you have a profit factor that's like 1.2, it means you're taking a lot of losses. Or if it's negative, obviously you're going to be losing more than you're making because, well, it's just profits divided by losses. It's not complicated. Win rate, you want a decent win rate, but the higher your profit factor is, the lower your win rate could be. Because like I was saying earlier today, if I have a 30% win rate, but I bank a 5R or 6R trade, that makes up for a lot of 1R losses. So that's kind of how these things relate. You want this to always be moving up. You want to always be making more on your winners and losing less on your losers. This is something you can easily control because number one, you can control the amount of trades you take. And you can also, number two, control the amount of risk that you put on based on the quality of setup. Like if it's a bad setup, you don't have to risk the same amount. I really hope you guys understand that. If it's not a great setup, you can genuinely risk like nothing. You could risk like the most small amount of risk if you want. If you trade minis normally and you don't really like the setup, but you think it might work, risk 1 micro. Like what's the harm? Because if it does work, then you make something that was in line with what you believe the probability to be. You're saying, I don't think this is very likely. I don't want to bet a lot. That's some of the best traders in the world talk about that. It's variable bet sizing. I always vary my bet sizing. I will always bet heavy on confident trades that I see. If I see the structure and it makes sense to me and I can read it like a book, I'm gonna bet more. But most of the time, maybe you're different. Most of the time I look at a setup, I'm not too sure. So I'm not gonna bet the farm. I'm not gonna bet the house on it. Like you don't want to overcommit to something that's not great because that's going to lead to a lower profit factor. Profit factor, this is the most important thing. I hear, some of my successful friends will say, I don't know how, guys ask him, I don't know how to manage money, yada, yada, yada. He says, look at your bank account every day. Same here. Look at Trade Zealot every day or whatever your tracking is. Look at it consistently. You want this to be ingrained in your brain because you can know, okay, for this next week, can I make that profit factor go up a little? Or like, what are the things I could change? Maybe I could be a little more defensive at the open, for example. Like that might be your thing because you can't necessarily control the win rate other than being more selective and refining your edge and also avoiding setups that you know don't work for you. So by doing this, it will influence this, but generally speaking, profit factor comes from the size of your win and the size of your loss. So you definitely don't want to be betting big on trades that will probably lose. And you definitely do not want to be taking profit early on trades that are working really well. Because if you take profit before you hit 1R, your net R multiple that you realize is going to be like 1R. When really, if you just held those runners for the full target, you would make like double, like essentially. You can do the math on it, but you want a higher average exit. Because if you exit at 3 points, your average is obviously going to be skewed towards the middle, not the top end. So you want your exit skewed towards the top end, especially if your win rate is below 70%. If you have a 60% win rate, you better be hitting full 2Rs and 2.5Rs. That's what's going to get you into profit. But with all this being said, this is how you're identifying errors. You say, okay, why is my profit factor low? And you go look at your losses. You see, oh, shoot, I tried the same idea 3 times. I need to change that. I need to make that a rule. Rules don't matter until you have evidence to verify that they're going to benefit you. I see too many people that are like, I need to wait the first 5 minutes, or it's all arbitrary unless you have the data on it. Don't pigeonhole yourself to something that someone else told you. Use the data. That's really what's going to separate you from the 99% of traders that just show up 5 minutes before the market opens and slap the ask. Like that's about it. But what questions do you guys have? I ran through some quick stuff. I wanted to make this pretty simple. I wanted to give you some ideas on basically how to frame this discussion, but I want to hear from you guys. What questions do you have? What are your struggles? Where do you kind of, you know, where do you not connect the dots when it comes to journaling? So anyone, it's open discussion, open mic. Just let me know what you got.
Hey, Christian, Gita.
How you doing, brother?
Um, hey, so my challenge is that, with using TradeZilla, like you shared, you have your certain tags that you put in there to kind of figure out, okay, the larger numbers are hitting for this particular area. Okay, I need to fix that particular issue in my trading. My problem is I have my tags are pretty, you know widespread, whatever comes to
Yeah,
my mind at that time. So I guess I need to kind of be more focused on particular tags, like categorize those tags specifically for the trade I'm doing. And
absolutely.
that is that what will help me? I just want to
Yeah.
think what you mean. Yeah.
I definitely know what you're saying because I've made that mistake in the past. I used to have so much different stuff, and I tried going through recently and organizing them and deleting duplicates. And I made the mistake, but it also kind of helped me. I deleted all my tags on accident, and I go, so I had to redo them. I redid every single tag for I mean, I had tags from years ago, but then I deleted all of the ones from basically year to date. So I had to go through and relabel every tag on like I don't know, like 300 trades or something like that. 300, yeah, 300 trades or so for the year. So I did
Mhm.
that, and I think it helped because I started to see the patterns. Okay, what is it? What entries do I take all the time? You could say FVG. I make mine. I showed you how I did it a second ago. I make them very simple because then it's just like a list of like 5 of them. I don't even type it. I just like click. You know how it has a
Yeah.
drop down? I just click the one. So I have like the three. It's the session, the entry model, and the mistake. You can have other ones. Maybe you could have like um some people might even be so diligent where they have like sleep score in there or something, right? You can have a ton of different shit.
Mhm.
This is the stuff I use because personally, I like doing the bare minimum because I will always do that. No matter what, I will always journal because I made it really easy for myself. If I had to do like if I had like 20 more steps, it's not getting done. I promise you. On my worst days, it's not getting done. But this is so
Yeah.
easy that on my worst days, I can do it 5 times. It's not that hard. So yeah, maybe go through and clear the board.
Clear them out.
Yeah. Then just go through and just do what you can. If you want to make it better, you can yeah, clear out the tags and then just start looking at your stats on a week by week basis. So then just look at this last week. So that way you're not like, you don't have all the stuff from like different evals. And I think Connor was just saying how he's about to kind of clear the books and archive his because he has a lot of old like Apex stuff. And he's like, I'm
Hmm.
gonna switch into Top Step. He hasn't a lot, he still has his accounts. He's just like, I'm just gonna close them out, take a big payout or whatever, close them out, be done with it, and then just focus on Top Step. So
Mm.
that's what he's doing. That's what he told me on the last call. I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, okay. It's a couple of questions, just follow up on
Yeah,
that.
fire away.
So with the accounts on TradeZilla, like we have our combines and we have our front-end accounts, right? My challenge is like, okay, when we're trading, like I know you do your copy trader, right? So you
Yeah.
do it's simple. For me, I have a trouble with because I like to trade on TradingView.
Uh,
Um, my question is like, you know how Connor is archiving those old accounts?
mhm.
How can we to accurately see those metrics that we're capturing from TradeZilla? Once we archive an account, do we
Mhm.
really get the right metric when we do that, or is it still kind of? I'm not
It's
sure if
it
it still
absolutely
records
does
it.
skew it. Yeah. So when you're
Okay.
when you're taking data out, like old data, it's going to skew it towards the new data being more relevant, obviously, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
look at my if I look at my entire lifetime win rate, it's probably like under 50%. But if I look at my hell, if I look at one day, it's 100%. You get what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's how it varies. So same thing with your profit factor. But the cool thing is the longer that you're alive, the longer your lifetime, will improve.
Yeah.
So that's just
Right.
how
Yeah.
it works. Eventually you'll have days that replace your entire first years, or like even just, I mean, fuck, $1,000 making $1,000, that's like 3 months of me like losing when I first started. You get what I
Mhm.
mean? So it really does shift. But for what you're saying, yeah, it kind of helps when you have small, if you have a smaller sample size for new stuff. I like complete data for like if you do a week, do every single trade from the week because then you can see what was my weekly performance. And
Right.
when you can then from there you say, okay, I really struggled with holding winners. That's your conclusion. Go in there the next week and make it a point to maybe have less size and hold longer because you want to train the skill. It's not about the money. The money
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I have trades where I make $50 and I'm like, that was the best trade I've ever taken. And then I have trades where I make like 800 and it's just like not the, it could be hypothetical, right? Like I can't really think of
Right.
anything off the top of my head, but you get the point where it's not the dollars, it's the skill set behind that. So
Yeah.
this would be an example of what we're talking about. See how it's Feb 9 to Feb 14,
Yeah.
56% win rate. This is like the week pretty much.
Right.
From like, I had one trade Sunday and then last trade on Friday. Profit
Mhm.
factor two. So all my accounts. So this is my little bit of options in here too, but this is all my fundeds. Uh,
Got it.
I don't put personally, I don't ever really put evals on this. I normally will, if I'm doing like an eval and I take a good trade, I'll do it in Notion. So I'll do it like this right here. I do my trading view screenshot, but then in each of those little trade drop downs, I'll put the screenshot of the execution from Top Step X or Trading View or just depending on whatever platform I'm using.
Hmm.
I think that's good because you want to take good trades in your evals. But yeah, I think the more you build a habit of this, you're gonna be like, man, there's no way I could take like all these trades because, dude, I'm telling you, this gets exhausting. I have like days where, it might be 13 trades. I had one day of 13 trades this month and one day of like six, maybe a couple
Yeah.
of weeks. It's exhausting. I'd rather do one or two and be done. I really don't
So,
like this stuff.
sorry, speaking of like your habits, like
Yeah.
can you touch on like what is your process? Like obviously you trade and
Mm.
then you go to TradeZilla, then you put in your R multiples and all the data there and you
Yeah.
see like the tags and then you go to Notion and is that your steps in the process? Is that correct?
Pretty much, yeah. I'll take a trade. I try to get the export from Top Step X immediately, just because it's easier if I export it. Then I could like I could journal it on my phone or whatever. So I get the export done because then that roadblock's out of the way, and I can finish the journal whenever I want. But most of the time, I just do it on a laptop because it takes me half the time than if I type it on my phone. So I try to get it done. And I don't really like bringing my laptop like all over the place. I'll just get done, then go eat. But what I do is I'll document each setup. So like from some of these ones. Let's see, like this. See how this is a screenshot? See how it looks nice? Like
Mhm.
my charts are blue. If you open them up every time they change back to normal. I screenshot this and put it in Notion. So that way you notice how I always put the same looking chart in the group chat or the
Yeah.
the, the recaps. It's because
Yeah.
I screenshot it for Notion, and then I also share it in the group. It's the same screenshot. I just press Control V twice or Command V,
Mm.
whatever it is. So I'm doing the same process every day, and that's why you see me do the same things around the same times. It's really easy for me to send this chart because I made it look nice for myself, and I just share it with everyone else because I'm like, maybe it'll help you guys or whatever. But yeah, like that's the premise. I do the same things every day. The more you have to think about what you're gonna do, the harder it's gonna be. Like you don't want to be like, should I just take the screenshots and I get them done. I do it really quickly because I don't actually save all these photos on my computer. I press Command C to screenshot on my MacBook and then put it in there. So I have to do it like immediately. It's not sitting on my desktop. I have zero screenshots on my desktop. So I hope that helps. I do it really fast paced for that.
Mm. Okay, no, makes sense. Thank you. This is
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's this stuff, it can be super exhausting to do. I took like 8 months off journaling, tracking my stuff on TradeZella I just was lazy last year. I didn't really need to. But then like coming to this year, I'm like, no, it's a better habit to have. And it helps a ton. Like you forget how important this stuff is. Cause like I'm looking at some trades, I'm like, I didn't even remember taking some of these, but when you look at it, you're like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
And then
I
yeah,
think that the tags is what the one thing that I actually would give me a better idea of my metrics. Like it will pop up
yeah,
be more apparent, right? And like okay, the R multiples, you're gonna have good trades, you're gonna have bad trades. That's gonna fluctuate. But if you could see the big picture, what is your main issue that you need to overcome? I think
mm,
that the tags would kind of be
tags are
I,
important. Yeah.
that would help me, I think.
So think about this too, because I'll give you a little bit of a bonus on that. Are multiple like what is a 2R trade bad?
No, that's good.
Is a 10R trade different than a 2R? Like are they better or worse? Like what's the difference?
I would say 10R is much better than a 2, but I mean,
I mean, I think 2 is great.
2 is
10,
great. Yeah.
10 sometimes happens. It's not
Yeah.
normal. It's not normal. I had one 10R trade in December, and that's the last one I can remember. I don't ever try to have a 10R trade. Actually, no. I might have had something in Asia recently, but besides the point, you want to make sure your R multiple is never like one. You get what I mean? Because if
Yeah.
you're risking one to make one and you win half the time, so you flip a coin, you make $100, lose 100. You see how you'll never make money?
Mm.
You'll always give it back. So that
Yeah.
means that your profits will equal your losses because of the distribution and size of the wins and losses. So let's just say you have a 50% win rate, like we're saying, but instead of a hundred, you make $200 and you only lose 100. Make 200, minus 100, make another 200, up 300, and back 200, then 400, back 300, then 5, so forth. You have a positive equity curve. So that's why this matters because like I'll just highlight this. If this number right here is 1, that means you have to be right like 90% of the time. You have to be right more often than not. Not necessarily 90. I get the math's a little different, but you ideally want this closer to 2R so that you can afford to take some losses and you're always going, 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You gotta be thinking
Yeah.
about something like this. I think that's a good visual.
Yeah. I
Um,
like that. Yeah.
but because most people will just go boom, 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 and then they have a big 1 for the profit factor. And it doesn't matter what anyone's opinion is, show me your profit factor. That's the number that matters the most because if your wins equal your losses, what are you gonna do? Like if the total amount of money won equals the total money amount of money you lost, you're break even
Mm.
or even worse because you could potentially lose an account with this kind of habit, because you'll go back to your drawdown limit. Um, that's the other thing too. With a 50K account, you have $2,000 of risk. This stuff right here will directly determine how likely it is for you to blow up. Do you get how you could figure out how likely you are to blow up based on that? Because it's kind of simple. It's if you don't make a lot of money for every win, so let's just say, you have $600 in profit, but your average loss is like $400. How many losses in a row can you really sustain? It happens really quick. And if your win rate is 50%, it is extremely likely that you will go on a 4 trade losing streak, a 5 trade losing streak. Um, that's very likely. So that's why I always tell people I give myself, if I lose 10 days in a row, I'll lose my accounts. 10 days. You get how hard that would be?
Yeah.
Especially when I only will risk 200 max per day, but I'm never trying to make 200 per account. I'm never trying to just make 200 risking this. I will risk maybe 100 to make 200, or if I risk 200, I'm trying to make 600. You see, I will only risk a lot when there's a lot of upside. I won't do it for like 1.5 R. I'm never going to risk $200 to make 300. I won't. It's just not worth it for me because the hole it will put me in. If I'm wrong, it's not something that's worth it for me. But if this was like a 3.5 R, it's worth the risk. So that's why this stuff matters. It's not that 10 R is important. You just got to make sure you're not just selling too early. Because like people
Mhm.
think, oh, I sold it at 3R, but like they got most of their partials right here. Your realized R multiple might be like a 1.1. So that's where the stats start to differ from what people think because it's not as obvious as that. But I mean, I've done this for years. So like to me, I can explain it pretty clearly. And now you have an awareness of this, so you'll start to understand it more moving forward. So definitely don't underrate or like overlook R multiple. That's gonna help you a ton. That's what determines what your profit factor is gonna be. You want to be hitting those 2 Rs minimum on your
Okay.
realized.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course. Yeah, anyone else, any questions, anything you guys do, feel free to share and stuff. I think everybody could talk. I don't think any of you are like muted.
Yeah,
But yeah.
talking about the stats. I'm looking at my stats, and I could definitely see how my stats pretty much determine how soon I'm gonna blow up.
Right. On Tradezella?
Yeah, I have a 1.36 profit factor with a 31% trade win rate.
Let's see. Do you have I'm trying to see where this is. I don't maybe I don't have access to your newest one. Say your stats again. We'll actually go over it right here. We'll look at it.
Uh, it's a profit factor is 1.36,
Okay. 1.36. Okay.
and my trade win rate is 31.85.
31.85%. Yeah. Yeah. So the risk of ruin, and then what would be do you know your average win and loss size?
No.
Do you see
The-
there's one thing on there called like reports on the right side or left side. It's a little left side bar.
Yep, reports. Let's see
Yeah.
it.
What's the average win and then average loss, like dollar size?
Average winning trade is $438.95. And
Hmm.
then my average losing trade is $150.96.
96. So these proportions aren't terrible because obviously your wins are bigger than your losses, which is good.
Yeah,
It shows that you're not as selective as you could be. You know what I mean? This means you take a
yeah,
lot of trades. You take a lot of shots at stuff. Because if you only bet on the trades that you know are the best, you'd have a higher win rate because you know how to read a chart. Like
right.
know what you're looking for. So whenever this is low, this means that like anything with a pulse, you're gonna trade. Anything
Yeah, I
with a
pretty much
loss.
am. Yeah,
So it's like, what trades do you actually want to take? Like, for example, you know how I am. I'll see a trade like this at the open, it dips, gives you a little, maybe some sort of entry, and then it goes like this to a target. I'm
yeah.
done. But then you got all the guys right here that are like, see, this is a trade. No, this is not a trade to me. I'm trading the bigger move of the day. And then if it gives you like a secondary move, I'll trade this one also. But you just don't want to just trade because there's a price leg. Price is going to there's gonna be like I'll keep a lot of this. There's gonna be moves that go up and down. You don't need to catch both sides of it. Or like you don't need to catch more than one of them. You just need to catch like one decent trade because it's not that making money is bad. It's just that the more times you take a trade, the more likely you are to do something wrong. And then when you do something
Yeah.
wrong, what does that normally do? Does it normally make you like feel really good and like you just stop? Or does it kind of
Nah,
feel like a negative habit?
it's definitely a negative habit, which is like what's it called? A domino effect. You do one
Yeah.
wrong thing, and
Yeah.
then multiple dominoes start to fall.
They you know what they say about like gateway drugs or whatever? It's like, oh, you smoke weed, so automatically you just ruin your life. With trading, it's like there's decisions you make. So when people say, I don't know, how do like, they're like, how do I feel better after I take 20 trades and I go on tilt? I go, don't ever get there. Just like limit your access to that, you know? Like
Yeah.
if I was like an alcoholic, I wouldn't I wouldn't have like alcohol in my house, or I wouldn't go to a bar. I wouldn't give myself the ability to do something bad, right? Most people
Yeah.
are addicted to trading, and the only issue is when they get over to this area, this is like just don't ever get to that point because you have the tools, you limit your trades, and you also know from your stats. Like your best days do not come from you taking 7, 8, 9 trades in a row. So yeah, that was pretty much it with that. So profit factor, average win, average loss. I like those. It just means you need to be more selective. So like uh pull up like a loss or something. Just give me some stats and we'll kind of go over some stuff. Or yeah, we could go over we'll definitely go over some confluence stuff because we have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to let's see. You only have did you I don't think I just don't have access to your new stuff on TradeZilla.
Let me see. Let me go to the where is the mentor mode? Here we go.
I see profit factor now. Okay,
View
that
mode.
updated. You only took what,
It says you have full access.
you only took 2 trades this month?
Yeah.
Okay. You want us to pull this
That
up?
was on the evals, huh?
You cool with me pulling this up, or you
Yeah,
want
go
to?
ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, go over this with everybody. That's a good sign of like who's gonna actually make progress because like dude, how are you gonna improve if you can't look at your stats? Like that's all you have.
Yeah. Yeah, breaking it down though, yeah, like I didn't even know that I could look at the average win loss. Looking at the
Oh
average win
yeah,
loss, I could definitely see that I taking good trades or like because I win more than I lose. I have to just be more selective.
absolutely. Selectivity
Yeah,
is everything. So yeah, like you
yeah,
said, trade win rate, average win loss, that's good. Profit factor, it's not bad. It could be better, obviously. It could be better. And when you look at shorter intervals of time, it does look better. So I guarantee, well, obviously, you only have these 2 days. So it's like, if you looked at like that period of time, your profit factor is like infinite,
yeah.
because you haven't lost.
You can look at January. January is where I blew up.
January, let's see.
I blew up on the 15th.
January, what the fuck? Top sub 2025.
Christian, does the Zella score matter as well as we're looking at our metrics?
Say it one more time.
The Zella score, I guess you
Zealous
wasn't.
score? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's probably I don't know exactly how Zealous score is calculated, but I mean when you look at it, like you can see why certain things would be good. I don't think I have you said the 15th is when you blew up.
Yeah, I blew up, but then I had more. I bought more accounts and I made like 1,500 on
Oh,
all of them. So
oh,
that's why it's on a red day.
oh, gotcha. Yeah, so you have this is a ton best. Okay. So this isn't terrible with all the stuff right here. There's a lot of stuff on here. Let's see. Where's some of these losses? Damn, that's a lot of executions. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think it was 218 in total.
Where are these losses at? Oh, I get it. It's like those are prices. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Look at this drawdown. That's crazy. Holy fuck. That's insane. Yeah. So the 15th. Okay. So this was I mean, I kind of blew up on the 15th too, so fuck it. This was the CPI day. Yeah,
Yeah,
gee.
that CPI day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, well, I mean, the reality is everyone in here is going to either do this or they've done it already. So it's like not there's no real shame with it. It's like, well, I know,
Alejandro, I've done it. I've done this.
right?
So
Yeah.
I know everyone's stuff. And it's just like the better you can
Same
look at
here,
it.
bro.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it happens. But so what happened here is basically just a train wreck. So this is a good. We're gonna really just look at this right here, guys. So you can see the P&L curve for the day. I love this metric, or not this metric, this visual. I look at this for almost everybody. It goes to show that no matter how many trades you take, when you're not on point with either your analysis, your edge, maybe your offsides, something's wrong. I believe on this day you said your schedule was off. You didn't wake up at the right time.
Yeah, but I was
Windows
so prepared. I was so prepared. I already knew what was in. Well, not well, I didn't know what was gonna
Maybe a
happen,
little,
but
maybe a little overconfident
yeah, a
because
little overconfident, all that stuff. So, but because I missed the move because I woke up like 30 minutes late, it kind of tipped me off. I got pissed off at myself, and I took it off on the charts.
happens. It happens. So this right here is what I call the domino effect. So how do you guys, how you prevent this? It's what Top Step just gave us. The way you prevent it is you number one, you box in your results. So you have a bottom line. This could say whatever, right? This is your bottom line that you'll allow yourself to get to. You also can cut it this way as well by not taking consistent trades. So if your curve, like it goes like this, if you just stop pressing the fucking button, you stop losing money. I know it sounds simple, but like really, that's what you need to focus on. How do I get okay with taking 1, 2 trades? I use systems. So like Freedom's a good one. Just have it shut off your broker at like 8 a.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern. Have it just cut you out. Just stop you. You're cut off. No more drinks for you. Because this stuff it is intoxicating. That's why I make that metaphor so much. You don't realize how delusional you are when you're taking the same trades over and over and over, and you're just not making money. So yeah, put a bottom line on there. Use your risk settings. If I ran some sort of trading desk, I would not let any of you guys trade without any sort of risk parameters. That'd be insane. Yeah, you got to absolutely. You have to make this a business and not a gamble. So the more you do this, I've done this same exact thing. When you see persistent losses like this, it goes to show you that you 100% do not have an edge in this market or the way that you're executing, because at the end of the day, you are your edge. It's not the other way around. You are your edge. By
Yeah.
not being, if you're someone who does not get flustered, that is an edge. If you're someone who's very patient, that is an edge. If you're someone who has a lot of availability and you don't need to press the button, but you can always be ready to trade, that's an edge also. So you have to know what your strengths are. In this scenario, there's no edge here. So when you have persistent drawdown like this and you can't get a single win, the way you stop this is literally just say, if I take 3 losses in a row, I don't know what I'm doing. I need to cut it. I need to cut myself off. That's a good habit to have. Because yeah, when it just goes to show, I can pull up like 100 of these charts from different people, right? They will all show you the same thing. Very rarely do traders go in a persistent drawdown, get back to break even, and then just stop. I see it so often. They get back to break even and they say, fuck it. Why not end up green on the day, right? And then they end up down again and then get back to break even again. And you're like, are they going to stop here? And then they go down again and then up again. And then they get a little green and then they go red low of day. And I'm just like, you were
Filthy.
never going to stop. It didn't matter. It did not matter what the P&L said. It would never be enough. And that's not an edge. For me, I know my limits. For like literally when I have on my funded accounts, I have actual limits. I could only lose like across all 5, I can only lose like $1,000 a day. That's like pretty much it. Sometimes I might make it like maybe 1,500, but very rarely do I even give myself that much room. I normally don't use full risk. If I have $200 per account, I might risk half of that or a quarter of that on a trade per account. Like I don't need to maximize my risk. If the setups don't look great, I'm not gonna stick like put my ass on the line like that. There's no point in it because it's going to, if I'm not certain that it's like a 60, 70% win rate minimum, why would I put more size on? That doesn't help me because I'm aware that there's a very real possibility that's going to be a loss. So yeah, with this type of stuff, more often than not, traders will never get back to a point where they're happy. So you need to know what is the max you're willing to lose and also have a threshold on what you're trying to make for the day. I don't need to make profit in perpetuity each day. Like I don't need it to go up forever. I'm okay with a couple $100. I'm okay with, it depends on the day, right? Like if there's a decent setup, I'll take it, whatever. But yeah, in most scenarios, like I'm more focused on taking one good trade. One good trade. That's there's a book, right? So what Bellafiore's book. So one good trade. Like that's the whole premise behind like the S&B Capital type stuff. Just focus on finding one good trade. Don't focus on trying to get out of drawdown. Don't focus on, what today has, tomorrow had, whatever. Just focus on finding that real good setup. Because like I know for me on, and we'll actually go through some charts because this is a real practical example of how I kind of operated here. So we'll go.
Christian, one question, while you pull that up, like for this example where you're showing Alejandro's trade for that particular day of
Yeah.
was it CPI or something? I don't know what news it
Yeah, that
was.
was a CPI day.
Oh, does that also take into account for our like um behavior change in trading thing? I shouldn't trade during these times, like these news events, because this is what happens. Like I might.
It's teachable for sure. It teaches you some shit where you're like, damn, maybe not, because I don't think you need to avoid any day in particular, but maybe you'd say, maybe I should be a little more careful because it's a risky day. There's
Mm.
certain sessions that are really risky, and for like newer traders, you will get destroyed. Well, it's just true. Steve was saying he was like this was the first NFP week in like months that I didn't end red because he was just following what we've been doing. And it's true, most first weeks of the month, like NFP, anything around data is normally tricky. So, like, if you have that understanding, you could say, maybe I shouldn't risk $500 per trade on CPI, or maybe I shouldn't try my ass off to come back green on CPI because what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, there's no point if it's a harder day. You want to really get aggressive on easy days that just like make sense to you. Like for me, when we had CPI this week, the day before I already knew I was going to make 3 grand, and I should have. I didn't manage it well, but I knew that because I was comfortable with that type of day, this particular context. I felt really good about it. I didn't feel that way like 2 days, like earlier in the week or whatever. It was just that day it felt really easy to me. So I'm willing to put on a couple more contracts and just lean into that. But yeah, when I look at like stuff like this, I believe it was Wednesday. Oh, I gotta do it. Yeah, I think I got smoked on this right here. Tuesday. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that. I didn't do trade Monday, I don't think. But Tuesday I got smoked in here because I was buying the highs and it just pulled back, stopped me out at the low, then ran. Because I was looking at too small of a time frame. Something like this happens. I lost pretty much as I was willing to lose on the day. I was pretty much at the limits. Had one trade on one account that I made like 400 on, and then round tripped it. That was it. After I round trip that, because I'll give myself a little bit of room. I'm never gonna be like, let me increase risk as the day gets like worse. I will always just say, I still see an opportunity here. I'm willing to risk $30. And I made like it was up quite a bit and it round tripped. And at this point, when that happened, I was beyond angry. So I didn't do a single thing with the chart. I left. That's it. Because at that point, when something like that happens to me, that I'm not going to think clearly. So I'm not going to continue to try to make it back or whatever. I'll accept the same exit. It was like so it was down like a 900 or $1,000 or something. Um, but yeah, then coming into this day, I just waited. I didn't come in and immediately try to trade it. I waited. I got here at this time, 8:30 Eastern, and I didn't take an entry until like 9:31 or something. Or 32. I stared at the screen for an hour. I wasn't eager. I didn't try to get in here. I didn't do any of that. I waited for that one good trade because I knew if I get this right, if I find the perfect entry, everything from yesterday plus more I'll make. I'll erase that completely. So I wasn't worried about like making back the money. I wasn't trying to do all this stuff. I just thought, how can I execute this perfectly? Because this is a skill set that I've developed for years. I can do this. I just need the right trade. And you wait and you wait and you wait, and it's effortless. That's how you do it. You don't try to make it back the same day. There's no need for it. And if this day was not CPI, if there was not something like this that I expected, I'm not going to try to make it back. It's just that I know that in this type of day, I can easily do what I needed to do with very little risk, by the way. I risked, um, my initial stop loss was maybe 700 bucks to make 1,500. So it was a little over 2R, but the planned R multiple is obviously higher. It's closer to 5R. I think it did like 2.3. But that's the premise. You don't try to make it back the same day because you'll always end up getting the same type of thing. If this is break even, you'll go on drawdown, you'll come back, you'll go on drawdown, you'll come back, but you'll never really get here. It happens so rarely that you can almost say never. Like that's the main thing with that. So yeah, journaling is going to show you this stuff, guys. That's the end of it. Like journaling is going to really show you where you struggle. It's going to show you that by taking trade after trade after trade, you're not more likely to make money. So I hope that kind of helps with the discussion. Is there any other questions? Anything you guys have been doing? How's journaling been going for you? Like, what have you guys been up to?
I got a question. It's not really about like the journaling aspect, but like, I mean, it's more about like tomorrow, if
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know what tomorrow's like President's Day or something, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
there's some
like,
sort of maybe market holiday. So what I personally do anytime someone, because I was supposed to check this important reminder holiday, we have an early close. I just look at the top step email. Easiest way to do it. They'll tell you if the market hours are impacted. Early close typically means the day might not be great, but you know what we're gonna do? We'll watch it. Why not, right? We've seen a lot of good market days, holidays that have lately have been decent. So it's like I'm not gonna just avoid it for no reason, but I'm not eager to trade it, by the way. I don't need to take a trade tomorrow. But
Okay, yeah, that makes
yeah,
sense.
fire away with the rest of your question. Sorry, I know I kind of jumped in right there.
No, you're good. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I guess, well, like I definitely want to get like the Trade Zella because I want to be like, um, in the I guess like the mentorship, like where you can like view like all the statistics and everything.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I was wondering like what you did with Alejandro, like if I could just pull up my stats real quick and like I don't know, kind of give your insight.
Yeah, so you have it through Top Step X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just put a screenshot in like wins or recaps and I'll pull it up right here.
All right.
You got Teddy. Is Teddy in here? Let's see. No, no Teddy. Okay. Profit factor looks strong. Yeah, your stats look great. Average win loss. Do you take partials at all?
Nah, I don't usually take partials, but it's just like, whoa, what happened on, was it Wednesday where we had CPI? Like, just kind of like out of my few trading days, I kind of had days like that where like I kind of like low key kind of pussied out because I don't know, like I just kind of like bailed from the trade a little bit earlier than I should have, and I think like I don't know that kind of impacts my metrics. Like
Does.
sometimes like I
Yeah.
don't know, I just cut it early, but I don't normally take partials. I just try to hold to my full target because I mean, for me, like I don't see a reason to take a partial. That means like I'm not like I don't have confidence that it's going to my
Yeah.
target.
It's like an acquired skill. I think a lot of people they start out with taking partials really quick, and then as you get more confident with price, it's easier for you to hold. Most people can't hold for a couple hundred points. It comes with time. So what you're saying is accurate. Certain days, I mean, you can call it an error. You can also call it a discretionary choice where you take early profits. I lean on the side of saying I know better. I can hold it. I don't need to sell it. I sell it out of like there's like some sort of emotional response where I'm like, either I need to secure something because I keep round tripping. Do I have evidence to verify that I need to do it right here, or am I just doing it on emotion? So, average win loss, this right here can be impacted by if you have like a $1 win, right?
Yeah,
You see, so it can substantially skew the risk. So the average win loss, this metric isn't terribly important because the only time that this would be truly reflective is if you did like 2R fixed risk. So if you never took a partial, never took a break even for like $1, that would be very beneficial. This, whatever, it doesn't matter too much. Profit factor is super important. That means you made 3 grand and you get only given back 1,800. Can you do that? Can you improve this? Probably. You could probably make a little more on your winners. You don't necessarily need to lose less. Your win rate's decent. Can this get better? Absolutely, it can. It absolutely can get better. You can be up to 60% pretty easy. 85% gets a little like, it's not sustainable. I've never been able to keep 85 for longer than 1 month. So like that's kind of like the threshold for me. Maybe you could do better. I know a trader who's consistently over 90%, but I only know one. You know what I mean? I only know one guy like that. Profit factor, yeah, this is your bread and butter. Focus on this one. Win rate, you just ask yourself, is there any low conviction trades you maybe take sometimes? And if you do take some of those, maybe you use just less size because that can also help with your profit factor on this area right here. Um, they look good though. Stats look good. Average trades is probably what, like, 5 or 6 executions or something. I think I remember seeing something similar. See if I can find it. That's true. Or if you want to post a screenshot, you could do that also. For
like for my RR.
yeah, like the chart or something, like the calendar.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, I'll post the screenshot link of the calendar for this month.
Sure. Yeah, right here. Lost it and regained it. But let's see. Oh, nice. Yeah, this is a lot lower for sure. 9 trade solid. That's like the highest. Yeah, this looks good. Consistent. Yeah, see these right here, these are like break evens probably kind of for
Yeah,
partials. Yeah. So this right here skews your average winning losing trade. Don't worry about that metric. You're not going to be able to you're not gonna be able to improve it too much because obviously since it's an average, if you have like trades that are like less than like $10, and then you have trades that are like maybe like 200 or something, this number can get substantially skewed down here as like your average. So it will never be close to this because you take break evens, which is good. It's good to take break evens. But yeah, your losses seem controlled. 142 is your biggest losing day. What's your drawdown? Like 200, 300? What's your limit for the day?
I don't have the set limit, but usually like probably yeah, around 200. Like if I lose that, like I'll normally call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's I don't think there's a benefit to not having it. It'd be like it's like a seatbelt. Like you obviously don't need a seatbelt every day in the car.
Yeah.
Eventually you do, right? Like if you're in a car accident, it's probably gonna help a lot. That's the risk limit. So sometimes anything freak accident can happen, right? Maybe you accidentally load the wrong amount of contracts. Maybe you have like, something like a phantom order that gets hit. Anything could really happen with this shit. So it's like if you have like a fine floor, it can potentially help you. Even if it's just make it 300, just never hit it or whatever. That way it
Yeah.
can never be minus 2,000. Because I'm telling you, Steve was just saying he was like he liquidated like some crazy amount from some phantom order. Like
Oh yeah, I
a
think
lot of
I
money.
saw that. Yeah.
So a
The
lot
only
of
reason
dude.
like for me, well, only because there's been like a few instances where like I don't know, like I've been in a trade and I've kind of like the trade kind of had to like allow me
Yeah.
to like increase my risk a bit more, so I don't have it like
A
set.
little bit of pressure to stay in the
But
range. I get it. It gives you a little
yeah,
bit of anxiety. I hear what you're saying. I think in a certain way it makes you perform a little bit more controlled. But yeah, obviously it's annoying if you get I've had it where I get like it goes down to like minus 201 or something on one account and it liquidates that account for the day. And I'm just like, but the other three or four are still in the trade. So it's like sometimes shit happens, but generally it's going to be safer to have risk settings, even if you never need them. So I recommend having something because I don't want to ever hear you're like, fuck, dude. I did it. I did it just one day, all it takes, right? And I've been trading
yeah,
for a while and I had one day last month. It's like the first time in like over a year where I had like any issue with like over trading or kind of like losing sight of what I was doing. And it was rare, but it happened. And I'd say I can be pretty disciplined with this shit. It was just weird. It just happened one time. I don't know why. Maybe I wasn't focused enough or something. Maybe I was bored. Maybe I wanted to make problems. But the point is, if there's a limit, that can never happen. And I don't know. I've seen, I hear from enough of you guys where shit like that like, happens occasionally. It's just like, I tell people play it safe, but you're more than welcome to do whatever you like. The stats look good. So obviously what you're doing is working. So keep it up.
yeah. You're right. I think I probably should implement it.
Something.
Yeah,
Better than nothing, right?
yeah.
Like,
Because I definitely like that experience that you're talking about, where like literally just one day, like I can't even count like how many times that's happened to me before. Because it's not like like I've been funded before, and then literally just one day, just everything gone.
yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, Alejandro, has that ever happened to you? Who else in here?
Oh,
Steve
my
was,
back computer. Yep, 100%.
yeah, ever happened?
I remember I got funded. The next day I made 4 bands, and the day after that I blew the whole thing.
Yeah, 4 grand in a funded account. That's a lot of money. On one
Yeah,
day. Dude, you
It was a great trade. I sized into it. Everything was beautiful, and then the next day I just fucked up.
yeah, 8K in one day. It's a Togi caliber rinse, but I mean it happens to everybody. Happens to everybody. So it is what it is. But yeah, I hope you guys got something out today. Kind of just went over some basics of journaling. Hope it helped frame some discussions for you guys. Make it a habit. Do it daily. Just do it daily. Because you'll have all this, when you look back years later, you'll be able to be like, wow, this is what I traded on February 18th, 2025. Like it'll be cool to see all that stuff. So you'll appreciate it. And it just trains your brain to see setups much more clear. So definitely implement. If you have questions, hit me up. Nice little Sunday, call. Not too bad. Anything else before we hop off?
No, sir. Thank you for your time.
All right, man. All right, later, guys.
Thanks, brother.
All right, later. Peace.
Appreciate it.
Adios.